before we actually start. But we'll see. We'll start to see people come in.
Cool.
And I just sent out a text too. So it doesn't get crazy. Most people watch the replay or just catch the highlights. But it's a pretty small engaged group. So I see a few people starting to trickle in. Welcome to this week's episode. Today, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So we'll get started in about a minute. Michael, what's going on, man? I see you in the comments. Appreciate you showing up every week. Yama Agni 1902. What's going on? All right, I see more people coming in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what platform you guys are on too. Oh, I guess I could see it myself. Facebook. Felipe, what up, man? I don't know. DP, is you with me? I guess that's what it is. The usernames be crazy to read sometimes. Bufo, I know you being here. What's going on, big dog? Appreciate you guys sliding through. All right, I want to respect this man's time because he's busy. So I'm gonna get started. This is a gentleman that I met on Clubhouse. I know Bufo's probably gonna laugh at me for mentioning Clubhouse again, but I've had a good experience on Clubhouse because I've met some really dope people. Have you met Coda the Friends manager Derek?
Interesting. I haven't met Derek yet, although I have a weird connection to Coda actually that he knows now, but that one of the other guys that works from Sean Healy. I used to basically throw shows with Sean for years, which is actually how I got introduced to the whole funk volume shit. But I don't know Derek though.
He's another super sharp manager. I was just listening in the Clubhouse room. I was like, man, because when you know your stuff and you hear other people talk, you're kind of like, okay, this person gets it. I circled back, and he joined the MEC a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago. And man, he's sharp. I didn't really know that many when I was running Funk Volume. I can't really say that I had good relationships with that many managers that I really, looked up to and thought were really innovative and smart. Not that I'm sure there's tons of managers out there. Just in terms of my network, it was, it wasn't that robust at the time. I was kind of figuring shit out on my own.
No, absolutely.
But anyway, today we have Sam Lancaster. He's the CEO of Township. Is Township, you would say, is a label, a management company, all of the above, essentially?
Yeah, it's all inclusive because as you know, once you start doing it, you got to actually do everything. But yeah, it started out as a management company and then turned into a production company, and then now it's a label and publishing studio. And
nice. How many artists are you working with now? Let us know what artists you're working with and in what capacity.
Yeah, so all the artists are managed and side of the production company. Got Young Pinch and Glop Dad 4000, and then a couple new artists, Quail P from Florida and John Wild from Sacramento. In-house producer James Delgado.
Dope. So you obviously have some guys that are moving. Let's talk about how you got into this in the first place. Like, where did it start? Where were your interests lie? And like, when did you decide to start Township?
So I mean, probably like most of us, I was just always like super into music from like a young age. So it starts out as just kind of a fan of things, and then tried my hand in piano and playing in bands, and then 2 weekends of trying to be a rapper, and then kind of and that was more in like middle school, whatever, and then turned back into just major fan kind of thing. But once again, way deeper of a fan than your friends, right? Mm-hmm. It's putting your friends on to new artists, and you actually going out and connecting with artists as just a fan. And then in college, I, early Two Dope Boys days, started my own little blog. And then, didn't know what the fuck I was doing in life, and college wasn't really working out. I was bouncing from here to there, city college, this, that. And a best friend of mine had gone down to USC to do the music, like business program at USC, and he and I were kind of the buddies that were in the bands together and doing the music together as kids. And at one point, he was kind of like, I was just partying and hanging out and doing things I shouldn't have been doing to make money. And he was kind of like, listen, like I got a couch, I'm living off Melrose. Like I just graduated, stopped interning, and got my first real job at BMI. But like a bunch of people offered me some internships. Like I could probably get you in somewhere. So took a leap of faith and lived on a couch for a while and got my first internship. And kind of from there, it just sort of started bubbling.
So who's the first artist that you worked with?
In my company or just in the business? We'll hear to kick it off. So the first internship I ever had was with Polo the Don.
Okay.
It was when Polo had his label at Interscope. So Rich Boy and Carrie Hilson and the whole thing. And although I interned for Polo, I never got let in the studio. It was just sitting at No Excuses Studio in the lobby for 14-hour days. And my job was driving around a bunch of new clients that he had signed or been part of, a group of songwriters, Full Circle, a couple of these new random producers that were sitting in the ping pong room all day named Terrace Martin and Hit Boy. And then I was driving around these three kids that had a single pop in called Toot It and Boot It. And I was driving around YG, Mustard and Tie. And so that was kind of the intro, was just hanging out there and trying to figure out how to get someone to let you do something for them. And and then that kind of bubbled into a few things. Like I'm saying, I was trying to get a real job like all of us in the business. Because once you get like, that's the way that your mom and your friends know it's real, is when you have like a at Interscope email or whatever the fuck it is.
Right.
I never could get it. Right. I never could get past the, you can work for me for free. And working for free all day, how do you pay your bills?
Right.
Living in LA. So I was throwing concerts at night for Sean Healy, running the Key Club when it existed, and hustling, doing things here and there to make money. And then at some point I got into a job doing A&R work at Warner Brothers for this guy, Jeff Fenster, and then for this guy, Dallas Martin. And that kind of all just kept telling me I was doing the right thing. But then I just kind of quickly learned where the power lied and where, how to get deals done. And then it was like, man, I need to manage maybe if I managed an artist, then I don't just have to be the guy that tells people what's cool and then they get to tell me it's not, or their manager gets to fuck up a deal or whatever it was. And then, randomly the first thing I signed, there was this, I found this kid out of Oakland, where I'm from, named Vel, who had this record, I'm Really From Oakland. And it was actually with Mustard, and he had a relationship with Mustard from a while ago. And it was like this perfect, like, oh, fuck, I know Mustard. And like, I got a good rapport with him and he owes me a bunch of favors, and like, let's go. So that was the first thing that I signed and did, was this kid Vel, and this record, I'm Really From Oakland, which is like, if you're from up here, everyone knows it. Still played at the Raiders and the Warriors games. And that was kind of the first thing that got my feet wet.
Dope. So what about, who did you work in terms of your current roster? Who did you start working with first? Guapdad or
no, Young Pinch was the first one that, and he was the first one that was I can't just be someone's manager, because there's like too many other elements to this that need to be put in to make it work. And I'm not putting that shit in to be just a manager and you walk away. And so Pinch was the first artist that I really like signed to my production company, and we went in together and kind of made it all happen from the ground up.
So you started from the beginning with Pinch, so he didn't really have much going on when you started working.
Yeah, I mean, to not take away from him, I mean, Pinch was one of these guys who from a young age was doing music and rapping in the city. And then he linked up with this a buddy of his, Maddox, who was another local rapper who was doing his thing as well. And they were selling tickets and opening up for everybody they could at the observatory in Orange County, and they were putting out little videos and this and that as a group. So like they, they were sharpening their tools. But yeah, when I met him, he was just graduating high school, and they had just kind of split up as a group, and he was trying to figure it out. But
Yeah, but he wasn't doing big streaming numbers. Didn't have a bunch of followers.
no, he had 800 followers and was quitting music and about to maybe try to go do City College. And his buddy was like wanted to try being a producer or a songwriter or something. And
Right. So you mentioned obviously, getting involved and understanding that the heavy lifting that was going to need to be done, you wanted to get involved as more than just a manager. I know you've explained to me this, and I understand, but can you explain kind of what the mindset was, as a manager, or something more than that, and then what that kind of looks like, and why
yeah,
you approach it that way?
yeah, I mean, the first artist I had, and once you kind of like you're saying, when you were a funk volume, like you didn't really have any of these other seasoned managers that you like had relationships with and were able to give you game and you could run things by, and so you're just kind of figuring it out, right? So with the first artist, it's like, oh, you got this song and I really like the song, and like I think I could help you in a really big way in all these different ways, right? Let me manage you. All right, cool. Yeah, fuck it, manage me, right? And you're like, cool. That means I get 20% commission on what we're doing. Well, then it's cool, but let's shoot a music video to this song that we like. Oh, okay. Who's paying for that? Oh man, we should really get like some really dope cover art done. Okay, who's paying for that? Oh man, we should try to like pay some people on social media or YouTube to repost. Oh, okay, who's paying for that? Once again, you see where I keep going back to who's paying for
Right.
that, right? And if no one's physically paying for it, well, then who has the relationships to make it happen? Or who's going to put the work in to find the relationship, right? And because of who I am and who I was and where I was at in my career, I did all of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then all of a sudden, an artist gets booked for a show and gets $400 for a show, and you're like, cool. So like, where's my $60? Like, oh no, man, what I'm saying, that's me. You're like, what the fuck?
Right.
Right? Like I'm a few grand already into this thing with you, and you're so that kind of fell apart, that first situation, and then you kind of realize like, what does a record label do?
Mm-hmm.
What does a publisher do? What does a studio like? You need to be in the studio. So there's all these elements. Why the fuck do they get a piece of ownership and security, but I don't? I gotta just pray that you're gonna do the right thing.
Right.
Fuck all that. So, and the reality is, what's a label? A label's a bank, right? Banks don't take risks. Just facts, right? Like, yeah, do they give out loans? For sure, but they never give out a loan that risks their company.
Right.
Right, like they do all the research. What's your small business plan? Da, 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 da. Oh, it checks all the boxes. Cool. And we know that we can give this loan without in any way affecting the rest of our whole entire business. All good. Well, that's what a record label does, right?
Right.
We don't take no fucking chances. It's, are you popping, or are we pretty goddamn sure you're about to pop? And is this gonna fuck up the whole thing? Oh, it's not. But what does a brand new artist need? They need someone to take a life risk, right? Because you don't got shit going on. Nobody believes in you. You have no track record, right? And you don't have the resources or the knowledge, aka you don't have the money or the relationships to make this work. And the big label's not going to take the risk. So then either you need to take the risk, your uncle needs to take the risk, your older brother needs to take the risk, or Sam or Dame needs to take the risk. And I'm not risking my fucking family's life if I don't know there's a high risk, high reward, right? So like,
Right.
that's what it kind of became for me. And for me, it was, I'm finding artists that are so new in the game that it's like, we need each other equally here. So
Right.
you want to take a risk on me the same way I want to take a risk on you, then let's do it.
Yeah. No, I obviously I agree with you, especially if you're talking about working with artists from zero without much to manage. Because some managers will say, hey, don't get him, don't managers won't work with you until you have something to manage. Like, I don't necessarily agree with that, but if you do get involved and help create something to manage, then the relationship probably looks a little different, right? Because if you're investing your money, if you're putting in that sweat equity, I think it's a fair conversation to have for some type of agreement that's more than just a management situation. That seems like,
and like you're saying, if we like Scooter Braun is not managing any artist that isn't already a multi-platinum selling millionaire. Why? Because as a manager, his job is to manage your business, manage the opportunities that are coming in, build on those opportunities. If you don't got that going on, what the fuck is there to manage? Right. And so that's the issue is artists are like, I need a manager. It's like, no, you don't. You need a partner.
Right.
And then if your partner and you can get it off the ground, then you need a manager. So like for me, I just started managing Guap Dad 4000. Technically, right? Like the last 2 or 3 years, that's been creating an artist in a business.
Right.
And there isn't a ton of management. And when you look at the end of the day, what the money looks like, it isn't a ton of money on the management side yet. Because where does the money from a manager come from? Ancillary, and who the fuck's making ancillary until you're a artist that makes real money?
Yeah. No, the risk that you're talking about, because even when I was starting Funk Volume, and it wasn't just about the money that I was putting in, because I came from a corporate world where I was making great money already, right? So if I stop doing that and invest my time into this, that is $120,000 a year that I could have got. That is essentially me putting money into the business, because I could have made, it's my opportunity cost, right? Like I could have made 120,000 a year. So you can't just look at just the dollars that I put into the company. You have to like value what I'm bringing to the table, because I have a lot of other things that I can do. And there's other managers out there like that too. So I think we need these conversations are important for artists to hear, because, management is tough. And typically artists want a ton from the manager. They expect them to be there when they call. They expect them to line up opportunities, sometimes invest in them. And we need to start getting them to understand that that's probably a different type of partnership.
Completely. And I used to always kind of say, and obviously this is, I've been doing this for quite a while now. So like, I wouldn't maybe said this in the beginning, but like at this point, if I'm a manager, or if I'm getting a job in this industry, like I need a $200,000 a year check. Like I got a wife, I got kids. Like I put all my time in. If I'd spent 10 years sitting in Interscope, like that's where it'd be at. Well, if that's a management commission, that means you need to be netting $1 million a year for us to do that.
Right.
Well, like if you're not, then we need to get you there. And do you know what it takes to get an artist or any business to the point that it's netting $1 million a year?
Right.
Right. So like that, for me, it's like, and I'm trying to play in the big leagues here. That's also back to your the clubhouse shit. The tough part is when you have a room with people talking, and it's like there's levels here. So like,
right,
that's not maybe what I was thinking 10 years ago, but at this point, that's the game we're playing in.
Right. So why do you refer to it as because I was never, I mean, I know what a production deal is, but like, why do you refer to it as a production? Why don't you just say you're a label?
Well, I guess one, in my partnership with my artists, it's about what their goals are, right? And I think a lot, although it's shifting now, a lot of artists, especially if you're someone that's like, I want a manager, I want a guy like Sam, I want a guy like Dame in my life. Well, like you have pretty high expectations for what your career could be. And a lot of times that's connected to the idea of having a partnership or doing something with a major label at some point, right? And so a little bit of how we build things is kind of like, it is that standard kind of production, old school production agreement where it's like, we're going to invest money, time, energy, and build you and your career to the point that then you're sexy for a major label, and we can go out and do that big old deal with a huge advance and whatnot. And in that situation, I'm a production company.
Right.
What we've found is a lot of the times guys get to that point, get that first deal and go, that deal ain't really that great. And I'm making more money off what this catalog is we're building and what we're doing independently. Let's keep growing this. Let's keep growing this. And then either it gets to the point where they're like, I'd like doing what the fuck we're doing. And then at this point, like, I'm the label. We're doing every part of the work. Or like, some other artists, we've gotten there and gone to a major and then gone, oh, we don't like this. And they like doing it how we do it. So at that point, it is an independent, small indie label. But I think in the initial stages also, like, a production is very, it paints the right picture of what the job is that we have in front of us, right? Like,
Right.
When kids hear a record deal, it's like, that means big money in my pocket. That means all these other people doing shit for me. It's the glitz, it's the glamour, where a production deal is like, here's enough money for you to pay for some food for right now. And there's maybe a couch over there that if you're willing to stay on, and like, it's me and you every day out the mud.
Right.
But that's also why you own and have the piece of the pie that you do, which you wouldn't have any of that if you're at a major label. So,
right. Yeah, I wanted Funk Volume to be similar, right? And that was part of the partnership that we eventually signed with Warner. It was just a distribution deal with the option to, as we bring on artists, upstream artists,
yeah.
And because every artist has different goals, and I wanted to be able to have the resources to get them where they needed to be within kind of the Funk Volume framework, right? So it's pretty much the same thing. So let's what about Guap Dad stood out to you, and why you wanted to work with him in the first place?
Because Guap first came into my life, not to put his business all the way out there, but literally as the cool ass fly scammer from Oakland, who was good friends with a buddy of mine, Chris Simmons, who'd been doing all my video work for me.
Okay.
So shout out to Chris Simmons, the goat of all goats. Only music videos he shoots is for me. Other than that, he's in-house editor for Colin Tilley. So every big video you've ever seen. But Chris, Bay Area kid, buddies with Guap. So it was literally one of these things where it was like, I own a studio, and it was like, hey, I got this friend of mine. He wants to rent the studio when he's in LA. Right. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, oh, but I'm like, who the fuck is he though? He's like, oh, but he's a scammer. He's got hella money. So like, you probably charge him more than you would. And like, he really just wants a place to be able to have girls come by and him look like he's more popping than just being in a hotel. So I'm like, cool. So literally him and his buddies were like renting the studio to like fuck girls in it and be rappers on their way to doing whatever trips they were doing. And so I met him, I met his group of friends, and they were just like great dudes. And I'm from Oakland, they're from Oakland, right? And so obviously I have a huge, just being from the Bay Area and being in Oakland, we really are prideful of where we're from. And I'd been in LA for a long time, and had a chip on my shoulder about the response I'd get from major label A&R rooms when I brought up these Bay Area artists, and everyone would just put their nose up at them and laugh at me and whatnot. But then obviously, the successes of a Kehlani, the successes of a G-Eazy, I knew that there was potential there for artists. So I always have my eye on the Bay. And so it really just started as like, cool dude, I like him, I fuck with him, he's funny, he's a nice guy. I was aware of the whole scamming world stuff, but like generically. And one night, him and his brother kind of like for 4 hours took me through the like scammer 101 shit. And it was so interesting to me, just the complexities of it and all the different layers to it. And the fact that not only there's this, like, you got to be smart and good at the internet and the black web, but you also got to be understanding bank stuff. But then also you're like putting on characters when you're walking in these stores of who you are at the register and all this stuff. And it was just like so fucking interesting and intriguing me, right? And so that kind of sat there, but Pinch's shit was finally starting to take off. So like I was, and once again, I'm a one-man shop. So it was like, if Pinch's got to go on the road, I'm on the road too. If it Pinch's, so, and I randomly saw him post a video of him making a beat and rapping to it. And it turned out to be this song Scam Boy he had. And I was like, oh, like he produces also? Like, damn, I didn't know that. And the beat sounded like some Mac Dre shit. And I'm like, oh, damn, okay. So he's got like, but like some new age Mac Dre shit. I'm like, okay, he's got the like the influences. And then the rapping sounded like some new age Mace, right? And I was like, and it kind of hit me. I'm like, man, I fuck with this. Like, this is, and it's the same thing with Pinch, right? Like, it was one song off SoundCloud that I'm like, and that's always how it is for me. Like, I'm a brand guy. I want to build the brand. I want to build the image. So it's like everything's got to connect, and the music has to connect to like who you are and what we can do. So heard the song and it just started like in my head. I'm like, damn, this could like work, and no one's doing this scam shit, whatever. And then I got a call from him randomly while I was on the road with Pinch, and he had just gotten pulled over, and the cops like stripped him of all of his money and everything in the car. And his brother had just gotten shot, and his other brother just went to jail. And he basically called me like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. And like, I know this is kind of weird because you don't really know me, but like, what can we do? Like, can you help me, please? Kind of thing. And I was like, listen, man, I got a bus ticket for you. I got a mega bus ticket from Oakland to the Burbank airport, and I got a lockbox on my studio. Like, if you can make your way down there, and when I get back, if you got some dope shit, like, let's talk about it. And he took me up on the offer, and he got on the bus, and he went and lived in my studio for like a month and a half while I was on the road, and was sending me music the whole time. And I was like, man, this shit is like fucking amazing. And like literally 2 days before I got back from tour, I like go online and Snoop Dogg's reposted Guap out in the middle of my parking lot hungover, like, man, I'm addicted to tacos and sex and anime and whatever. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, and we got back and it was just kind of like, let's go. You know what I mean? So all those things played into it. It wasn't one thing specifically. And it was more like, I saw what it could be. And that's always what it is, right? And that's back to this idea. It's like, it isn't, most of the artists, they don't even know what it is yet.
Right. Let's jump. Maybe I might even jump back and forth because you mentioned that things started jumping off for Pinch. What did that mean, and how did you guys do it?
So the Pinch story was interesting. So with Pinch, it was Pinch came up, and this is right around the time that Post was just starting to kind of early break, and G was just starting to have some successes, and Pinch came in kind of into my life, and I saw what they had been trying to do as like this group, but I was like, but then when I kind of met with him and heard some records, and I heard a lot more, and it was like Nipsey Hussle type. They're from Orange County, LA. Like all his big homies are like, gangbanger type. You know what I mean? Like Lokes, right? So they're all like YG, Nipsey Hussle. They're LA, Long Beach type guys. But Pinch was 16, 17 and listening to Future and Young Thug, right? So like he was trying to do more melodic, more auto-tune shit, and I don't think they were as into it. I saw and heard one of those songs. So when he came around, it was kind of like, yo, let's like try to figure out a new, something new for you. And I was working with Southside at the time. And a bunch of those kind of producers really loved that this young ass little white boy was able to like walk in the room with all the, all the wolves and push play and really impress people. So we did for a few months like a whole entire album of basically like Young Pinch trap music, and it was hot, and it was a lot of big name producers. And then
And you got those producers just out the strength of your relationships,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then they took a liking to him once you presented them to him.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then randomly his buddy Maddox, who they had been in this group together, and obviously when they stopped doing the group and Pinch started coming up, obviously that put some weirdness in the relationship, especially because Maddox was kind of the older one. And he had mentioned like, oh man, I want to produce, I want to start learning how to produce and songwrite and da da da. It was kind of like, cool, you should do that. But then I kind of never heard from him again. And then randomly I get an email with like a bunch of beats and a bunch of demos, and I'm like, this shit's pretty hot and it's kind of different. Him and Pinch finally get in the studio and they make a couple records, and I'm like, that's the fucking sound. Like, that's what you need to be doing. And at the time, I discovered this group of producers, and I was managing them, Big Head and G Neals, who kind of best known for doing Gucci Gang and a bunch of the little pump stuff. And now Big Head does shit with kind of everybody. And it was this combination of Big Head and G Neals and Maddox that then like we kind of scrapped everything prior to that, and they did this whole album, and it was like, yo, this is like some new age like Beach Boy meets Atlanta meets LA. Like it was just dope, right? And we put out the first project, just uploaded onto SoundCloud, right? At this time I hadn't even really figured out the like DistroKid or whatever, right? I was still in the mindset of like, bubble this kid on free platforms, and then we sign this big major label deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we put it out, we started shooting some music videos, and I had a relationship with Brian, who owned Elevator, the blog and YouTube channel out of Chicago. So Brian posted the first couple videos. They did kind of whatever. In the meantime, we were going super hard back home, like on like street team shit. So like they had come up, Maddox, I think, had come up with this like, oh, 7-1 forever, right? We're from the 714, it's 7-1 forever. And so that's what we ended up naming his first project. And so we did like stencils and wheat paste like everywhere in Orange County. And we were doing a bunch of like, back in the day when you could do the like follow and unfollow, or liking people and commenting on their stuff, to like every kid, girl that was in high school in the Orange County area. And people started to kind of catch on to what was happening. And then a couple of his videos started doing like a few numbers on Elevator. And then we ended up dropping this song Rock With Us with the video that we shot on 4th of July. And that shit just like 20,000 plays first week, 50,000 plays second week, 200,000 plays. And all of a sudden it was like, oh shit. Like, and it, a million fucking plays on YouTube, right? And so all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, this is kind of working. The numbers start jumping, whatever. And so through that, I randomly got hit up by someone in St. Louis, like, oh, we want to bring Pinch out to do a show. And I'm like, what? Like, that's so fucking random. But like, let's do it. So we go out to St. Louis, and there's like 274 kids that show up paid to this show in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm like, oh shit, we might have something here. Right. Like, okay. Yeah. And we went back to LA, and we booked a show at the observatory in the small room and sold it out, 300 fucking people. And he comes on stage, and the kids know every fucking word to every song. And it was like, we built this right. We grew this right. At that point, I like uploaded it to TuneCore because I didn't know what else to do. And then we just started touring.
Mm.
right? And it started with like we went and did a leg in the Midwest and like almost sold out every show. And then we came back and Pinch got added to the SOB RBE tour. And we like did the West Coast and it was like pretty cool. And then we got out of the West Coast and all of a sudden, like every room we were going to, it was more and more Pinch fans. And then that bubbled and we came back and they put us on our own tour. And it was like first show did well, second show sold out, and before you knew it, like the whole tour sold out, 500 cap rooms.
So so let's fill in some details because a lot of up and coming artists don't really know how these processes work. So in terms of you went to St. Louis, that was kind of you connecting with an independent promoter. You didn't have like a booking agent yet,
No,
right?
that was a random email and someone
Yeah.
paying for some
So,
flights.
so that's you figuring it out. How much time between then and getting an actual booking agent? What does that look like, and what work did you guys have to do yourself?
It was probably like 6 months. But once again, I'd been working in the business so long that like it's easy as fuck to call your friends and be like, yo, I got this kid and he's selling out rooms. Can you plug me with some
Right.
agents? And so everyone's like, oh yeah, of course. So like instantly we got all the meetings and we end up signing with Matt Galley at Paradigm.
So basically all of that time when you were trying to figure shit out, possibly try to get a job, sleeping on couches, those are where all the relationships were built.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's
Right.
where I have everyone's numbers to
Right.
hound them.
And that's kind of what's given you like a huge resource as a manager. Now, what I'm curious to know is because when I came into this, I came straight from the corporate world, right? And I didn't feel like I could weigh in on the music. You seem to be very confident in your ear for music. Where does that confidence come from? Is it from being at hella shows and just being a part of the culture? Like, where did that confidence come from?
Yeah, I mean, so the same way that and I'm glad it does come off like I'm confident about my ear, but like I'm the first person to tell you, like, don't play me any fucking beats. Because every beat sounds the fucking same until an artist is rapping on it. So don't have me come in the studio and be like, which one should he get on? And similarly, like I've learned now that actually none of my artists want me in the studio when they're creating, because I'm in there talking about ideas and marketing ideas and and streaming numbers and all this shit. Like I ruin the fucking creative juices at this.
I can relate to that.
You know, but like you were saying, what you tapped on, which was the shows. I mean, literally, I've been going to concerts my whole life.
Mm.
I'm literally the guy that watches. I've watched a million music videos. Right. My mom still has the journals of just all the lyrics. Right. That just me listening to rap songs. Oh man, that Andre 3000 line. Let me staying up at night writing it. Right. I was the kid that when original hip hop lyrics archive OHHLA popped up on the internet, that I was printing out lyrics and selling them to kids at school. Like, so I'm a fan, but like, you can't tell me what the fuck what a good music video looks like. Like, I'll tell you what a good music video looks like. I know when an artist really has an album that tells a story. I know when a market, right? Like, I know what songs are going to translate to a live show. So for me, it's more like my confidence comes in like, I'm not signing you if I'm not a fan of you from jump, the same way that I am of my favorite artist. And in that same way, if I'm not a fan of it, it means there's something wrong. Now, once again, at a certain point, an artist doesn't want to hear that shit. But the reality is, like, if I don't like the song, why the fuck do you think all the rest of your fans are going to like the song? I was your first fan.
Right. So you mean because I've had this debate with managers, like I don't necessarily need to be a fan of the music. I have to believe in the music and I have to be a fan of the person. Me personally, I'm very particular. I don't listen to that much music, but I consider it part of my job too. And when I first came into Funk Volume, like I said, came from the corporate world, I didn't even feel confident enough to give feedback on it. I could hear that it was quality. It was different. It was different, and I knew that, and I saw how it was resonating with people. But and I've said this in an interview before, but I gave away that card that I shouldn't have given away in terms of being able to give feedback, because I just admitted like, hey, I don't know anything about music. But over the years, when you go to as many shows as you go to and you see how people respond to certain parts of the song or certain parts of the show, or you watch videos and you're going through all the comments, all the data that we're going through, we start to develop an ability to, you know, you start to develop an opinion that should be in the room and should be at least acknowledged, you know, because we're going through the data and we're talking with fans every single day, and then watching the show. Like I said, I think that's crucial. But it seems like you kind of had that from the beginning, even when you said that they were making, you were like, that's the sound right there, like that's the direction we should head.
Yeah, and I think that plays into, listen, if you're making music as a hobby, fuck what anyone's got to tell you. Does it make you feel good? Do you enjoy doing it? But the second you want to have someone pay you for that shit, you're now talking about the music business. Well, like, you have no clue how to make money off your craft. So, like, especially in the early days, who the fuck are you to tell me what you should do? Right? Like, especially, and once again, we're talking about artists who, this isn't an artist who's got 5 mixtapes out and their videos already doing 20,000 views, 50,000 views. They got 10,000 followers. Like, yeah, you've now started to figure some shit out. But like, if we starting from Jump Street, like, you got to do you, and that's in the studio. But then I got to do me in regards to like A&Ring this project, marketing this project, branding you. So like, if you're the beach boy and you don't have no fucking songs about the beach, then like, what are we doing? If you're a good-looking 18-year-old kid that like girls are going to be one of your biggest fan bases, and you don't have no songs for the girls, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
If part of what we're trying to present is your life story, and you don't ever talk about your mom or your dad, then like,
right.
So for me, you know, and I probably do it to overthink shit definitely, and I'm probably more hands-on than I need to be, but it, like, I don't know, that's just how I am. I'm like, because all my favorite artists, that's how they are. Right, like, it's like, and that's, and I just never looked at the one of one or the viral or the like, well, Chief Keef just fucking put a song up online and it just worked. I'm like, that's because he's Chief Keef. Like, and guess what? I can't invest my time, energy, and money into like hoping some shit sticks on the fucking wall.
Right.
And so that's the, like, once again, that's the difference. If you want to just kind of do it as a hobby, then like, you don't need me.
So how do you, when you disagree with artists artistically or strategically, how do you guys come to some resolution? What is your kind of method approach to resolving, you know, disagreements or conflicts?
I wonder what they would say. But for me, it's, there's always the compromise, right? So like, any album, any project we put out from any artist I have, there's easily 2 or 3 songs on there that Sam wasn't sure about or didn't know if that was really the one, but like, the artist wanted to do it, like, cool, right? But I make sure that it's known that like, you got those 3,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I need these 2, and then we're all in agreement on the other 10. So like, let's go.
Right.
And then I'm decently good at being able to say when I'm wrong. So like, damn, that shit worked, and I didn't think it was going to. Let's double down on that, or vice versa. You don't really got to say too much when the 3 don't do shit,
Right.
and you're like, That's why we're not shooting videos to those three. You
Right.
know, um, so that's sort of what it is. But I'm kind of an asshole and a tough dude in that sense. I think I make things pretty clear, and once again, we're deep in it together. So like, it usually doesn't even get to that point, right?
Right.
Like, um,
Yeah, I think it for managers that are watching, I think it's important to kind of establish your presence and how you want to operate early, right? Because again, coming from the corporate, I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, and because I entered a certain way and the guys received me a certain way, some things stuck that I definitely would never let stick again, right? But that's just me being naive and just kind of walking into something that I probably wasn't all the way prepared for. Um, this,
but in that same sense, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's just that's the type of person I am, and it can be to a fault also, right? Because the only reason I feel comfortable enough to have an opinion is because I'm so deep into this shit with you. But then you flash forward, and now all of a sudden, like, the relationship was built on Sam. You do everything with me, and now it's like, oh, but I got to kind of step back because I got more clients or we have other things to do, and it's like, whoa, no, that wasn't what the relationship was, right? Where like some managers, it's like they don't want to have an opinion about that shit because actually the way they want the relationship to be is a lot more at arm's distance, or it's a lot more on the artist to deal with a lot of that stuff. So like, I'm not the guy that's like, you guys got to do everything yourself, and then I walk in and I'm like, I don't like it.
right,
And it's like, and I think the other big thing is I don't like things 90% of the time because what are we going to then do with that? It's not that I don't like the song. I like you as an artist, so of course I fuck with the song, but like, how does that song connect to what the overall marketing plan is? What fans is that song going to connect with? Is that song going to take away from everything else we're doing? So I think also it's like when you give artists your reasoning behind your opinion, at least it makes it more digestible. Because once again, nobody likes to put time and effort and energy, especially when it's a creative thing, for someone to go, I don't like it.
right,
Why? Like, I just don't like it. It's like, well, fuck you then. Who the fuck are you to tell, right? But like, so I think that's the other part is like, I probably have a reason on the business side why I have an opinion that might differ from what yours is. And maybe you just didn't think that way through. I mean, me and Guap just had to talk about this the other day about like we're shooting this movie and whatnot. And like there was a couple scenes where they're like, oh, we need to reel that in or pull that back. And Guap's like, what the fuck? It's my story. I'm telling the truth. Da, 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 da. And I had to pull him aside. I'm like, yeah, but like, what if we lose the Netflix opportunity on the table for this short film just
right,
because you had this one thing in there? And he's like, oh, could that happen? Like, yeah, it's a big ass corporation. It could. He's like, oh, fuck that scene then.
right. I'm glad your conversations go that smoothly and you're able to articulate it. No, you brought up something else I think is crucial because it played a part in my story as well. Like, how do you manage? Because obviously, when you got one artist and you're day to day with them, they establish an expectation for you to have a certain presence in their life in a certain amount of time. And obviously, as your business grows, you're going to have other clients. How do you manage that communication when maybe you send somebody else to be on the road and it's not you? And because Hop would receive it as me not working as hard, right? Or like I'm just delegating and, so I'm not doing as much anymore. Maybe I didn't deserve as much anymore. How do you how are you managing that communication as you get busier and bring on other clients and let them know, like, because in a sense, they're kind of babied in the beginning because they have so much of you, and that's not normal. That's not a normal management relationship.
No, totally. I mean, one, I don't have the fucking right answer for that. Um, Deal with it all the time. I think I'm getting a way better sense of that and how it works through having my own children now and having two boys. And you can just see with them, even the like brotherly competition and shit, and they're 5 and 2 years old. I think the cop out asshole way to say it, which takes me a little bit out of it, is like that's part of the game, right? And like my attention's gonna go to who's taking it and bringing the value, right? An asshole way to say that is I got bills to pay, I got a family to support. You got 100% of my time. If I'm getting 100% from you, but if you ain't giving 100%, and whether that's on your like actual output, like I'm taking time off, I'm doing my own thing, or you're a company as much as you're also a human being. And as a human being, it hurts to hear it. But as a company, if things are going down some and slowing down, maybe we need to scale down. Maybe you don't need another 10 employees. Maybe you don't need 2 locations, right? Like, well, it's the same thing. Like, Drake's manager doesn't need to manage anyone else.
Right. Yeah.
Like, people don't want to hear that shit, but like, if all my time is taken up with just you and we're making a ton of money and it's rolling and you got all my fucking time. But like,
yeah, because
are my kids supposed to stop eating because we're not connecting? And guess what? Me being there every day with you isn't what's going to make a new song that's necessary to get this going again. So like, that's the tough reality. And then you got to try to find some fucking middle ground there that makes people feel good. And I know all my managers out there will feel me, and all artists are feeling me. This COVID shit has fucked it up too. Right? Because for the first time ever, if you're actually a manager or a person who's taking this serious, well, like, I'm in the house. It's been over a year. And most of these artists, unfortunately, because of how they make their money and how their businesses are run, they're forced to be out in the field still. And so now it's like you got this weird dynamic of like, I'm an artist, I'm out doing my thing, and I'm with my other buddy who's an artist, and his manager's here at the house party in Hollywood. Right? And in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, he maybe don't got no kids that he gives a fuck about, or maybe he's not fat like I am and sees that the top people that are dying from this shit, right? But all of a sudden it starts to be like, where have you been?
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like, this is, I mean, let's not get into it of all the major artists that have dropped their managers over COVID, because also you've all realized that you're broke. And the first person that you're going to fire is your manager, because that's the way that you can save some fucking commissions. That's a whole nother story.
That's all bad. I know. So we don't have that much time, and I actually have a hard stop at 1 because I got a meeting I got to jump on. But as I started getting to the comedy world, like I'm very, because it happened in music, like I'm very sensitive to how things can change over time. So I over communicate. I'm talking to these guys. I'm letting them know like what my personal goals are and what I plan for my future, right? Because managers need to manage their career, right? Like nobody's looking out for you but you. I mean, everybody needs to manage their own career, but managers especially, because there's very little job security. And, you know, if you're only working with one artist, that's a lot of risk.
A ton of risk.
So I'm constantly, you know, I don't mean not every day, but I just remind them like, look, you know, I'm going to make sure that you guys get everything you need. And if you ever feel like that's not happening, you know, let's talk about it, you know, right away. Last thing I'm gonna have to bring you back, man. I got too much stuff that I want to ask you, and we still got to just connect for lunch. But the general public thinks you don't make money from streaming. What are your thoughts?
I haven't made $1 in 2 years on a management commission, and my wife's still ordering shit from Amazon every day as she doesn't work. That's from streaming. Like,
Wait, clarify that because you lost me a little bit. What? So,
But basically, what I'm saying is, streaming is what keeps the fucking lights on,
mm,
right? So, yeah, the reality is, if I was only a manager, I'd be so fucked right now. And I'm talking about fucked on some like us going and getting EBT, me running EDD scams, like fucked, right? I got 2 children and a wife that doesn't work. I live in Los Angeles. I got a recording studio. I got thousands of dollars of overhead. There's
mm,
been no touring, no personal appearances, brand partnerships are down. Blah, 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 right? $0 are fucking coming in from management. We live off of our catalog.
wow.
My artist Pinch still lives in a fucking 5-bedroom house in fucking Woodland Hills and still has 2 spots in Huntington Beach and drives a Mercedes. Guap Dad still like this is off streaming and off the fact that they own their catalogs in partnership with me. But it, like, thank God when we did our deal with Columbia Records 2 years ago with Pinch, we kept the whole catalog out of it. Because then when that deal flopped, they kept 8 records. And the whole time that deal flopped and they tried to shelf him, his money didn't change at all because his checks were coming in every month from streaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like that's the toughest part about this shit and the streaming shit and all this is if you want to be famous, sign to a major record label. That's how you're going to get famous. You're not going to get famous being independent. If you want to make money, the money is in the streams, right? Because the only way you make enough money on the other side is if you're famous. You need #1 records to go out and get 20, 50 bands a pop going to the nightclubs. That only happens if you have a major fucking record label. But if you don't have a major record label and you can build a fan base that streams, you can make almost just as much money continuously. But yeah, you'll probably never get the $50,000 at the strip club bag. But it's kind of like, what's your goals? And like, I know for a fact at the end of the day, like in 20 years, all the artists that have worked with me, hate me, love me, there's no way they're ever going to be able to say that Sam didn't help them build a business that is still paying their fucking rent.
That's what I'm about, man. Growing your business at least double digits, hopefully triple digits year over year. Um, because every manager has a different skill set. I don't know anything about radio. I don't know about making stars. I haven't traveled that path yet.
I haven't been able to do it either.
Uh,
I've gotten there, and so I'm not the guy that knows how to get a song to #1 on Billboard. But if you want to know how to make a business that could generate hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, like I could help you do that. And and that's kind of the middle ground. But yeah, streaming is where it's at. If you can make it. And the final point about that too for artists and managers, at least for me, was if we're incentivized by money, we're not doing this for fucking free. This is a business. This is a game. Well, if I'm only your manager, I only make money off of commissioned ancillary things. I want you to sign a fucking deal with a major label because I can finally get paid. I want you to sign a publishing deal. I can finally fucking get paid. If you guys just cut some of these people in your lives that are working their fucking asses off for you into the stream, well, then they're incentivized to grow that, which is what you live off of.
Right.
But like artists don't, it's hard for an artist to get that. So that's my little 2 pence for that.
Well, Sam, thank you, man. I definitely want to have you back. I look forward to building with you. I'm sure we'll work together on something. We'll definitely stay connected. Everybody that's watching, if you don't know, we started our text marketing sessions every Monday at 1:30. So in 30 minutes, I'm hopping on a call right now, and then in 30 minutes, I'm hopping on Zoom, and we're going to be talking about text marketing. Today we have BeatStars joining us, and they're going to walk through how Fan Connect is integrated into your pro pages so that you guys can collect phone numbers and text your customers. Going back to building a business, all about data, data driven. I'm super data driven, and everybody knows I'm all about collecting phone numbers. So if you want to join that session, it's on Zoom. Click the link in the Music Entrepreneur Club Instagram bio. Sign up. We'll be live in 30 minutes. Sam, thanks again, man. I appreciate it, bro. I'll be in touch.
Yes, thanks, Dame. Appreciate it.
All right, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.